to call the meeting to order.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all for coming today. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Supervisor Moore.
Present.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Present.
Councilman Iacili.
Present.
Councilman Powell.
Present.
Councilman Martel.
Present.
All right, well, I'd like to invite the members of the Hampton-Bays Water District to come up to the table, please. I don't know, do we have enough chairs?
Yeah, four.
James Capper, our superintendent. Keith Tuttle, Jr., the assistant water district superintendent. John Collins, lead engineer at H2M. And Chris Weber, engineer at H2M. So today we have a special event to start the meeting to give out the board would like to honor two of our heroes, Stephen Gregory Jr. and George Valentino. And they're here today. And I'll just say that in special recognition and grateful appreciation for their outstanding service to the community, the town board of the town of Southampton is proud to acknowledge their heroic actions at the structure fire scene at 99 Springville Road in Hampton Bays on Thursday, January 9th, 2025. Thanks to your quick response and grace under pressure, you should come up, please. I'm sorry, you should come up here with us. Yeah. Thanks to your quick response and grace under pressure, several of our citizens enjoy today the precious gift of life. As demonstrated in your exemplary deeds, you have served tirelessly, professionally, and unselfishly to make our home a better and safer place in which to live, work, and visit. For this and more, especially going above and beyond the call of duty, we also, as commissioners of the Hampton Bays Water District, offer you our sincerest thanks, highest praise, and best wishes. We'd like to present you with these certificates of recognition.
Hey, George, how you doing? Cool. Thank you. I knew you called 40 years ago.
So we should also state that they're water district employees that responded to the scene of a fire as they
Saw
were
it on the
working.
way.
Yeah. Not that you were fired.
No,
you saw the
something.
fire
I was like,
on
oh,
the
doesn't look
way.
right. Yeah.
And just dashed right in.
Yes, we'll call 911 first and then notice there was people inside.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what happened that day?
It was pretty quick. I mean,
Oh, turn on.
just
Turn on to the camera.
Yeah,
no,
tell
it was
them.
just pretty quick. It was, we heard people inside, and we're like, uh-oh, like as the fire grew pretty quickly, so we just went in, and got them out quickly. It was,
So easy, just went in and
We just
got him
wanted
out.
to got him out.
it was perfect timing. It was
It was perfect. We lined up perfect with it. But
And George is a volunteer firefighter.
yes, I'm a volunteer firefighter
So
too.
you know how to do it. Well, thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
No problem.
for your
Anytime.
bravery.
No problem.
The only Gregory that is a firefighter.
Imagine that.
Thank you.
Oh.
You play it down when you ran to a burning building.
Yep.
I know. Not everyone would do that, that's for sure. All right, well, let's proceed with the meeting.
And you guys don't have to stay for the meeting if you have things to do today. Thank you.
Twice. Oh, should we should have taken a picture.
Well, you still can.
Do you ask Peter? Ask if they wanted to take a picture with the board because they had their family here. It was frozen.
No, we're good.
No, we're good.
That's what I'm saying.
Hey, here they are.
Do we want to
Want us to move out of the way?
Yeah, Jay's here, right?
Yeah, let's just do right here the flag.
Yeah.
Over here.
Are we evacuating? Seriously.
Oh, over there.
You don't follow me, Steve.
I think we should get your father.
Picture.
You want to come up for the picture?
It's my dad.
Stand it in with you.
Come on, George.
Okay, I'm gonna come on the other side. I'm gonna come up there.
Sit next to George. Like 40 years ago.
We're the ones standing.
She walks Steve out.
Right, yes, perfect.
You guys look great over there. This is take pictures the whole time.
Ray, want your picture taken?
Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good one. See you later.
Let us celebrate our heroes, right?
Okay. You been fishing? Okay.
I'm in the
Oh, wait. Please smile.
All right, I'm not getting up.
Sorry.
That's our favorite.
Always open.
Okay, I got one of those.
All right, well, let us hand it over to you for
Sure.
some updates.
I know you guys have the agenda. There's no particular order. We'll kind of jump around, but I'll start off initially just what our current pumpage is so far. So it's from January to April. We're ready for the full swing of the summer season. Just to give you some numbers, these are numbers in cubic feet, and this is what we bill by. Last year, around this time, for our bill consumption, we were around 18,262,055 cubic feet billed. This year, we're about 20,108,662. We can say that's because of our meter replacement program. Now our meters are reading more accurately and they're tallying the numbers a little bit more accurately. So it's a 9% increase from last year from this point. So it's good that you'll see that increase because, like I said, the accuracy of the meters are starting to come into play. You know, mainly our larger meters that we've replaced already. So those are starting to transpose into our bill.
Excuse me, I can't hear. I can't hear. He's talking to you and I can't hear.
How do we have the speakers projecting into the room?
We don't have speakers here. We have speakers at the town boardroom. This isn't a town boardroom.
This one is not the appropriate room. Maybe if you got up over there and
Yeah, instead of having your back to the audience. Slide, or you could both put over on the side.
I don't know if you're gonna be,
I'm sure you can capable of doing it.
I don't know if now, I don't know if you're gonna get picked up on the cameras.
Here, why do you want to take one of those?
Yeah, you're gonna have to take that.
If you don't mind. Thanks. Thank you, James.
Or if you could both sit on the ends of the table, you know, and then you would be on the camera. I think so, because it's like a voice without a
You have two
body.
cameras, can you put one on the podium?
He's got it.
You got it.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
We're
there.
good.
We're good.
All right. So I'll just repeat what I said to you.
Thank you.
So, currently our pumping season. So last year, we'd like to compare numbers from last year to this year. Last year, our billed consumption, which is in cubic feet, which billed through the meters, was about 18,262,055 cubic feet up to this point from January to April. And then this year, from January to April, we're at 20,108,662. And that's mainly because we're embarking on a large meter replacement program of all the district-wide water meter, residential and both commercial. And we have replaced mainly our larger meters are 8-inch to 4-inch meters, which utilize a lot of water. So now that those are newer, they're detecting flow and recording more accurately now. And then just to give you some numbers on our well pumpage, Last year at this time we were 28,982,880, and this year we're at 29,758,93. We have a large demand at this point because we're flushing our water mains, and our GAC system takes a lot of water to flush out and get ready for the pumping season. So that's why we're at that. We see that 2.6% increase, and we have actually been pumping a little bit more water. A lot of people, it was dry for a long period of time, and now thankfully we've had some rain to slow that down a little bit, but that's good. And then just to give you a difference between what we pump and what we bill, last year we had about a 37% difference between what our wells were pumping as what we were billing to our residents, and we're down this year to 32.4%, which again takes place with the water meter replacement more accurate and able to get an accurate billing and not lose water. You know, the DEC and the Board of Health like to see those numbers shrink and get closer, because then we're wasting, you know, water if we're not utilizing it for flushing or, you know, fire suppression or starting up our GAC and our backwash with our plant 4 and so forth. So we like to see some of those numbers come closer, which they're starting to, and as we replace more meters, those numbers should shrink drastically. Our GAC, which is a granulated activated carbon system that was installed in 2018 at our plant 1, is up and running. We got the approval from the Board of Health through rigorous testing and getting it up and running. That'll be ready for our peak demand system in the summertime. And our plant 4 iron treatment system has been up and running all throughout the winter with no hiccups. So again, that field will be up and running. All our wells, all 11 wells will be up and running, including our 3 booster pumps at the plant 2 will be ready for the peak demand system. We had one of our wells rehabbed this year at plant 4, which is well 4-1. As you all know, that well field is heavy with iron. So we have to rehab those wells every 5 to 7 years to get rid of that iron on that column and check the pumps out to make sure those parts aren't becoming overly saturated with iron, as the other wells we do like every 10 years. So that was up on the list for this year. And that one is ready to go. And we got our heels on the ground and ready for a busy season, so we're ready. So that's basically our summarize of our pumpage at this point, at this time.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the meter replacement?
Sure.
More details about that?
Sure. So we started this project a few years ago, but the main chunk of this project is that we're transferring over to a new billing system. Right now, the town utilizes governed billing, which is not geared towards water utility billing. You can ask Paula from IT. She knows, she bangs her head against the wall. And those guys in IT have been very helpful with getting this off the ground and actually helping us out. But we've had a lot of issues because they got to build components on the back end for governed to operate for a water utility. So now we're going over to a company that's called Univeris. And Univeris is strictly water utility. Well, it does other things, but it's really geared towards water utility, where customers can now set up a patient portal, so to speak. It's a customer portal where you can access any information about your account. There's a chat feature that you'll be able to do. There's an announcement feature where you can get a text message, email, or phone call that your cell phone, your water bill will be due. You can set up auto payment now. We're going to a credit card system that will be in place at our office now. So for our customers that want to play with credit card, we finally got to the 21st century coming up that we were able to use credit cards or so forth in our office. So that's eaten up a lot of our time and a lot of our capital to do that. It was a costly thing, but it's something that we needed to do to move the water district forward. We can't keep paying govern and not geared towards us. And now we actually found something that will help us, help our customers, be a better communication. We can send out announcements through there anytime we're flushing. Our water quality report can be on there. Any type of water conservation letters will be posted to that, and you will be able to receive a message, like I said, via email or text message when needed.
So James, the water quality reports will be sent out with the billing?
They won't be sent out. You'll get a link that will be posted on your bill, or they'll be posted obviously be posted on the town website where you can access that. We'll have copies available in office, and then if anybody can't receive a copy, you can always call the office. We can drop one there too.
Some sort of information?
Yeah.
Link. Okay, great.
I don't know if the file is able to be shared on the actual portal or a link. So if we share it to the portal and you hit a button, it'll take you right to it so you can view it. We foresee this going live within the next few weeks. our office, my two secretaries, and the IT department have been doing rigorous training with the program, trying to get all the kinks out of the way before we go live. There was
you're meeting every week with IT.
Yeah.
Which is
I have a weekly meeting, as well as the IT meets twice a week with them. So it's a lot, and it's taken a long time to get to this point, and we're finally able to hopefully bring this into play shortly.
I think it'll be really beneficial for the constituents to see that report. So if you could just make sure that that's somewhere, accessible for them to see that link or whatever we end up doing.
Yeah, we do a
Call out as well. We have a robocall that goes to them saying it's available. So we try to hit them as many times as we can. I posted it on the Hampton Bays Community News before, like on Facebook platforms and Instagram. So it's going to be out there as much as we can.
it'll be instructions on how to set up customer report.
Yeah,
so we sent out a letter twice now.
And it might have been misconstrued away that was saying you have to set up this portal. Like a lot of our residents like to still come in the office, write a check, and pay the bill, which we'd still be able to do no matter what. That's not going away. So there'll be an access link. They go on there, they set up their information. They can update their billing information, their contact information, and so forth. Because we're finding out a lot, people are renting the house out, but they're not leaving the homeowner's number for contact, and we're leaving the tenant's number, and we're never having that communication where we find a leak and we still can't get a hold of them. So we're like calling everybody to try to find out who the homeowner is so we can get to them. So now they'll be able to have homeowner name, tenant name, number, contact, so we can, and we leaving door knockers, phone calls, emails,
trying to tell these resident owners that, hey, listen, you have a situation going on, your water bill is really high, we need to get this fixed. So this will be a good way for them to get an alert on their phone and text messages coming, Hampton Bays Water District alert, and they'll be able to view what it is and call the right way. So this should hopefully be going live within the next few weeks. Like I said,
that took the bulk of our time and our efforts for getting this up and running. So on the back end of that, we've been doing our large diameter meters within the district, our 8-inch or 6-inch, and a couple 4-inch, a couple 3-inch. And now the plan is we have a PO put forth for Core Maine to purchase all the 1.5 and 2-inch meters now that service the commercial and the residential customers in Hampton Bays, because a lot of them have been in the ground over 20 years, and they're just not tallying the consumption rate. So that's why you see there's such a drastic number from what we bill to what we actually pump. And the DEC doesn't like to see that. They like to see those numbers close, that percentage really close. That means we're wasting water, and they're trying to help us conserve the water. We're trying to conserve the water, the resource that we have. So
I just have a question.
Yeah.
On that topic.
Yeah.
If you have several large house fires in the district, does that number get accounted for?
Yeah, we put that in our report.
Okay.
It's firefighting control, and it's a percentage that we figure out. It's like usually 2 to 5% of that loss is what is equated to firefighting, flushing. We actually, street sweeping goes in there because the highway barn fills up the street sweepers all the time. That's not
metered water that we get in.
Our GAC flushing goes in there. So all that percentage, there's a line for where that water went, or where we think it went.
Just like if there was a quarter where there was, more fires than generally.
Yeah, it's noted. It's noted in the report. So, we have to send that out, a water conservation report that explains that in depth. And what are we doing to prevent that percentage from ever growing? So we tell them we're replacing our water meters and so forth. So
all the large meters are replaced, and now you're working on the smaller ones?
The smaller or the large, so to speak. So yeah, that's going to be roughly, just to purchase them off of our contract, that's $230,000. But right now we have a capital project, GL, that has money in it for this purpose. So once we purchase them, because we like to have the meters in hand, we want to have this stuff on property before we start bidding the installation of it, because the larger ones are going to take a little bit more time to get replaced. Hopefully within a few months, if not maybe a year's time, we can get all those larger meters in the ground and replaced. And then we'll move on to the smaller residential or commercial 1-inch and 5/8 by 3/4 meters. And we foresee this project taking about maybe another 2 to 4 years to be fully complete. And then at that time, we're going to move hopefully to a radio read system, or either a drive-by or a where all the reads report back to the district The drive-by is where employee will be in a car with a tablet. They drive by a street. All the reads are collected into a tablet, then download it. This is good in one or two ways. It frees up manpower for us to take care and do other things that are needed. And, the hydrant maintenance and pump house maintenance. There's a lot of stuff that it goes on throughout the day with the water district besides pumping water to help maintain the district. So right now, it's taking 3 to 4 employees to read a cycle, which is roughly 2,200 reads with 3 to 4 weeks. And then we do the billing, and then they repeat their process every month. And our bill right now, or every 3 months, you receive a water bill. So we're hoping to eventually maybe reduce that monthly to a 2-month or maybe even a monthly billing. What that will do is help us catch water leaks for residents, so they're not going a couple of months of seeing water wasted into the ground and then receiving this astronomical bill for a leak that's in their house because they were in between cycles of reading. A lot of times we catch them right away, and we contact the customer and they are aware. But there's other times where it can go a month, 2 months, sometimes 3 months without us catching it. So hopefully, once we get to that point of completion, there'll be a board, discussion and a comptroller's discussion of where we want to do with the billing. I'd like to see it reduced to at least 2 months. Every month would be great, and it's 7,200 accounts to have to bill out. A lot of work for my office, but when we get to that point, there'll be a topic of conversation that we will need to have. But we're moving in the right direction with this project, which is good.
Yeah, certainly save a lot of time if, as you said, you can take the reading just from the car as
Yeah,
you're driving by.
you try by. Yep.
Can you do the readings monthly, but still keep your billing?
Yeah, if it all depends. The collection system, like I said, is a drive-by, so you can do a district in a day by driving by. Obviously.
You wanted to capture that, but not have to go through.
Yeah, the billing.
Staff doing the whole
Yeah.
thing. This way, you can still catch the leaks and you can do all of that.
Right.
But you're not actually.
That's what the good thing about the one where it reports back to the district. They all report back because it'll flag you right away and tell you right away. So we'll see what the pricing comparison to that point when we get there. Ultimately, I like to see it report back to the district and not have to worry about it. But doing a drive-by is perfectly fine, which there'll be one person who's driving by and collecting the reads. So that's where we're at basically with our meter replacement program.
It's a great project, thank you. Well, did you want to come
I guess we'll move into some of our other capital projects.
plant upgrades?
I'll kick it to HUM, who's lead engineer on these projects, and they can explain some things. And they also have some updates on our 10-year master plan as well.
Maybe you should shift your chair a little so that,
Do you want to go up there, or do you want me to?
either way, it's either,
Ooh.
you can just,
You tell me what you want me to do.
Well, why don't you just shift?
yeah, shift it.
Let's switch.
Well,
Yeah, there you go.
the problem is now it's back to the camera.
But it'll pick up there.
Now I feel
There you
like
go. It's fine. I'm not important. It's okay.
So James had asked me to give you an update on the 10-year capital plan. If you recall, back in 2018-19, a 10-year capital plan was developed for the district. Plan was written by another engineering firm, but we were able to kind of update their things to show what we've done since 2020. And we could say that on progress, the original plan had about 21 projects of various sizes, and some were for treatment, some were for distribution, some were for updating older and antiquated equipment. Since 2020, we had to add a project, and that would be the Plant 3 perfluorinated. Unfortunately, we did not predict, or we could not predict, that we would be impacted by the contaminant PFAS and PFOA. So we have initiated a project for the Plant 3. There were some improvements that were recommended at Plant 3, which we have incorporated into the overall project. So we will be, in essence, killing two birds with one stone. But of the 21 original projects, 6 are complete. They include the Shinnecock Canal crossing, the Bay crossing, and the Rampasture water main replacement, which was recently done last fall. In addition to those, we had painted the Bellows Pond Road tank and installed iron and manganese treatment at Plant 4. Along with that, we updated the chemical and MCC rooms. So 6 complete, 4 in progress, which Chris will go over in a minute, and then 2 we've put into planning, including the meters that James has updated you on, and the new well. Right now, we just actually came from a test site over on Quail Run. Yep. At the end of Quail Run, in between Quail Run and Washington Heights, the district has an easement. It's town-owned property. We're looking to put a test boring there, and in that test boring, we'll drill down about 300 to 400 feet. We'll select a couple of screen zones and see if the water quality is good. If the water quality is good, we'll have to come back to the board and talk about implementing a new well. Definitely need a new well. Our pumpage goes up every year. Our peak goes up every year, except for last year, because if you remember, we had a really, really wet July and August. But we had a really warm October. But overall, the max day has gone down, but the average has gone up since about 2010. It creeps up a little every
2% increase every year.
Yeah. So that new well is going to be needed to meet some of these demands, a lot of them being irrigation demands, a lot of them being people moving out here who necessarily weren't out here full time 10 years ago. In addition to that, this new well will give us a little sense of redundancy, and we can rely less on our wells at Plant 1, which has the GAC filters, and a little less on our wells at Plant 2, which we tend to pump more than they probably should. So, to date, the district has spent about, or town/district has spent about $15 million. Of that 15, about 20% has been a direct reimbursement through grants from New York State. Actually, the number is about $3.44 million we've received in grants as a direct reimbursement from New York State. That 3.44 does not, that $3 million doesn't include the grants we have for Plant 3, which are
It's right there.
4.7 million more in grants that will be a direct reimbursement from the state. So although that Plant 3 project was unexpected, and it's an expensive project, we are getting about 60% of that from the state.
And those grants have already been allocated, or?
Not the one for Plant 3.
Okay.
Contract signed, so it's our money.
Okay.
They won't allocate until we start spending.
And you don't fear those funds are in any sort of jeopardy? Those are coming.
I didn't want to think about that, but
You don't think about that?
I think the money is already set aside for
Okay,
us.
that's good to know.
Future grants may be in jeopardy. I don't know about that. Hopefully they keep this program going. It's been going since about 2018. They've given a ton of money to Long Island and communities all over the state. We're talking in the billions. So hopefully they keep that going, and we'll continue to look for opportunities to submit, more projects.
Right.
On James's note, he talked about the meter program. We did submit for something called the Green Innovation Grant on the basis of new meters mean water conservation. So we're waiting to hear from that. It was a long shot, but felt it was worth it.
Yeah,
anything they give us, if they give us anything, would be appreciated. So hopefully we're successful there. But
good to know. Okay.
One other thing is the initial estimated cost in 2019 to do all these projects was about $26.6 million. Of course, we've gone through COVID and costs have escalated, so we think that cost is more like $30 million now, but we also have the $4 million, $7 million, $8 million in grants, so that actual cost should be lower than what we estimated in 2019.
So maybe around 21 is what you're saying.
The grants.
21.4. That's great. Okay.
I'll switch spots with Chris. I'll let him update you on the ongoing projects.
Thank you.
You can just keep it. Yeah. Okay.
That's more professional.
Time star.
So first project to discuss would be the SCADA and tank monitoring project that we have ongoing. Under that, we are district-wide upgrading so the tank monitoring systems for both the diesel and the caustic tanks. They're beyond their useful life, so at this point we're just replacing them to ensure that we're monitoring the materials that are within the tank and keeping, basically preventing anything from leaking out, ensuring that the tanks are kept essentially safe for operating. And the secondary portion of that is we're also working to district-wide upgrade the SCADA system, which is essentially the brains of the operation, right? Every plant will be able to communicate back to the main office so that James and his crew know exactly what's going on, and they can operate the plants remotely from their iPads, pieces of equipment. So that was also needed to be done, both in terms of cybersecurity concerns and just in terms of just general operation. I think that SCADA system is well over 20 years old, right?
It was on the original one.
Yeah. So it was due for an upgrade, and so we're doing that right now. The tank monitoring work is progressing. The site work is mostly done at this point. We're just awaiting for the delivery of the actual probes for the tanks, at which point they'll be installed. We're expecting that project, or that portion of that project, to be done in the next month or two. SCADA portion is a little bit bulkier. I think we discussed last time that the actual integration and change out of those pieces of equipment will affect each individual plant when they go to do it. So we need to be cognizant of obviously the summer operations. So we received the submittals, we're going through them right now. We're expecting the pieces of equipment to show up over the course of the summer into the fall. And then once we hit the fall, when James is able to start giving us some of the well sites, that contractor will come in, they'll do the change outs, and so we're expecting that project to be done by the end of the year. Any questions on for plant number 3, which John had mentioned, which is our PFAS plant, and which we received the grant for. Our plans and specifications are complete in terms of internal QA/QC. They're going to be delivered to both the New York State and the Suffolk County Health Departments. Expectation is honestly tomorrow. New York State, obviously, because we have the grants, so they're actually in charge of doing the review, and Suffolk County being the local governance.
And wasn't there? And forgive me if I got this wrong. Wasn't you were working on trying to change out a filtration of that system, or
he's talking about the react.
Yeah.
Oh, the reactivation. Yeah.
The resin pilot.
Okay.
That's
yeah.
going
So
to happen there.
Right. So the pilot system is part of that project. A little bit slightly separated, I guess. Okay. So the plant 3 actual plant work specifications and plans are done going to the health department. The pilot protocol is expected to be done in the next couple of weeks, at which point we'll send it, same thing, to both the Suffolk County and New York State Health Department. Expectation is to do that pilot on a basically side stream over the course of the summer, determine based on when we see breakthrough of PFAS through that pilot, whether or not the media that's chosen makes the most financial sense versus carbon for that specific site. I don't want to get too into it. Essentially, the resin can have a longer life expectancy with these shorter chains. Right. And when the EPA had come down, and with the new regulations that are expected in 2027, that's kind of what drove us to look into these additional needs.
And do you expect those new EPA federal regulations to continue to be enforced in 2027?
To be determined.
Okay.
As of right now, there's
the state is are they in fact mirroring those regulations right now, or?
I guess our expectation would be they would.
The state will adopt their own. So the state will be forced to adopt their regulations because they're more stringent.
They're more stringent than what is now.
Yep. Correct.
But the state could choose to make a more stringent regulation.
Even more stringent than the EPA.
Right. Okay.
Which typically, yeah. As for the EPA, like right now, that hasn't been removed, but whether or not it is at some point, yeah. Once the main project gets delivered to the health department, we're expecting that review to take about 4 to 5 months. at which point, once we get the approval from both the state and Suffolk County, we'll look to bid the project in full with expectations to break ground sometime late this year. The plant will probably be online not for 2026, but 2027 would be the
Mentioning that we're currently treating to zero, right?
In Plant 1.
Yeah.
In Plant 1, yeah. And then the pilot, the pilot protocol, my expectation would be that timeline's going to be less. The review is going to be much less than reviewing a 108-page set of plans. So,
What is the state of Plant 3 right now? Can you kind of give us just a little bit of an overview?
Yeah. So Plant 3 right now is operating all 3 wells blended, correct? So when they're blended, all 3 wells are giving us water quality below the detectable limits, right, of the perfluorinated.
Yeah.
So it's ready to go for the summer. The point of the plant is as we review essentially each individual well's water quality, we're seeing the PFAS levels increasing over time. So in order to prevent the complete loss of this plant during peak season or at any point, honestly, we need to ensure that this treatment plant is in place to prevent that, because if obviously we're not looking to distribute water above and beyond, above the levels that are expected, and especially with the new
control for
right.
But one would expect, though, eventually that plume would move past the well site, right?
That's our hope.
Yeah.
But that's why they call it the forever chemical, because it all.
I mean, they're finding it everywhere now. It doesn't matter
It's-
really
it's
where.
it's everywhere.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in every
It's in
water supplier and across
Yeah.
the country.
And where you could have gotten it down to the levels of 70, now we're going to, not
Yeah.
detect.
So it was 200 at one point, and then overnight they changed it to
70.
You went 200 to 70 to 10 to now 4, and so our standard would be to obviously if you're at half of that level is when you would look to implement treatment, because you don't want to be approaching your MCL.
And Keith, that's the goal.
Yeah, you want non-detect.
Right.
100%.
When you're talking about parts per trillion,
Yep.
you can jump from
2 to 4
Yeah.
in a blink of an eye.
Right.
And you
think-
think it's so sensitive.
think about what a part per trillion is.
It's an eye drop in a one big size swimming pool, I think is what is the best analogy.
Yeah.
Right. So, and with the part of the not struggle, but the when you're at 4 and you're designing for a non-detect, which is at 2, right? Essentially, the detection is the detectable limit right now that the labs can do is half of the MCL. So if there's any detection, we're conservative would be to put in treatment essentially. So, but to answer your original question, sorry, was Plant 3 is right now as long as it's as blended, putting out water, great quality water essentially, below the detectable limits, and ready to go for the summer pumping season.
Excellent.
So they do have one well that's higher in PFAS there, and that's your last on.
Right.
First off. So I mean, we get run in the spring.
It hasn't rained yet.
Right.
We're
And
testing, but
that was part of the benefit of getting Plant 4 online, because that's one of the best quality waters that we have, minus the iron. So you have that, so they can go ahead and be cognizant of reducing the operations of those additional wells.
Well, which one are the specs with the health department?
Plant 3. Plant 3. Yeah. Plant 4 is online already. That's that iron plant that James was spoken about earlier.
Which is non-detect.
Right. Any questions on Plant 3?
Oh, thank you.
And then the last one would be the test well, which John kind of already spoke about. Again, we were out there today taking a look at the location. Currently working on plant specifications for that as well. Plan would be to bid that out, drill the test well, test the water quality and soil to determine where the well should be set. And then once we get that information back, then we would move on to the next step of determining what treatment, what options are needed, and what we need to coordinate with the town in terms of location. So, was there any other?
No.
Okay.
What's the likelihood that will be a site that could be good for a well site? I mean, is there times when you test, like what percentage of times when you test for something that it's not good for wells, is it?
It's more frequent on the east end than it is up west.
Okay.
So we have drilled well sites. We actually did a test well at Plant 2 years ago. It turned out that it wasn't a viable site. So we didn't proceed with it.
So there would be a new plant here as well as the well?
Expectations would be.
Well house, chemicals, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
Something within the 10-year master plan that was adopted that we need that well, regardless of location.
And it would be adding it to, not in place of.
No, not at this time. No. It'll be adding on into our, so we have 12 wells. That's pretty much all the capital projects
And the updates.
and the updates. Plan 3, yeah. Just to touch a little bit on what we talked about with the SCADA system with cybersecurity. Cybersecurity in the water treatment area has become very largely attentive nowadays because there's been water suppliers that have been impacted by cybersecurity, where they actually had their SCADA systems or whatever their controlling system was attacked by outsiders, and they were shutting wells off or messing with the chemicals and so forth. So that's why we're really leaning on this new SCADA system, because it boosts our cybersecurity. I actually had a meeting with the DHS department, the government basically, about cybersecurity. They came out, they met with myself and Paula with IT, and they gave us some current information that it's not if, it's when there will be an attack on basically essentially the United States and their cybersecurity.
Look at what happened with the county.
Yeah, they said that was just the beginning. That's just a small taste of what actually they believe. They have intel. It's public intel. You can go on their website and they actually list what they expect to happen. They're leaning towards, China invading Taiwan and then eventually attacking the U.S. Through the cyber security. So they actually offer, once the SCADA project is complete, they actually come in and scan our system. They have great technology that will actually scan every component of our internet, our SCADA system, all our ports to make sure we're not going to be held viable or looking for something for someone to attack. They actually look for our weak points. And then once they do, that scan is complete, they give us the report and they say, well, this is what you can do to improve this type of security.
Oh, that's great.
So I know Paula was talking with them as well to do something town-wide as well, because I know Paula is very big into cybersecurity and they do a great job on it and they're taking steps into that.
Just did our note before.
Yeah. So that's why we're taking this very serious. It's not only because our system is old, but it's vulnerable to an attack eventually. And they say, and a guy told me, he said, don't think your system is too small for an attack. There was a plant upstate that had one well, served like 4 customers, and they had a little cellular data inside the well that reported back to a tablet. And it was like a cell phone, so to speak. And that cell phone data was probably about 15 years old, and a company actually had a cyber attack on there, not knowing what was going on. They were using that as a jump point. They were logging into that and using that as a jump point to initiate their attack, and they had no clue. So that's why they were saying that don't think that any system, small or big, if you have a weak point, the cyber attacks are going to find it.
Yeah.
So that's why we're really pushing for this and moving this in
And
that
that's something
direction.
we would hire them to do, or is that
It's
a
no
service
cost.
they're
It's a
offering?
no cost. So
that's great.
they said once you're complete, you fill out a form. Sometimes it takes 2 months, sometimes it takes 4 months, but they come in to your
They're gonna
office. and
Try to penetrate the system.
They do. They try to look for your weak points and see, and then say, all right, here's your weak point. This is what you should do. They can't, tell you what to do. They say we recommend. These are our recommendations of what you can do. And obviously, Paul and knowing our SCADA technicians, which is Eagle Control, one of our contractors, would look at this report and try to strengthen up those weak points to make sure we're not vulnerable for an attack.
That's really good. When do you think that's going to happen?
Once the SCADA project is complete, so hopefully within the next calendar year, once that's in place, maybe sometime into next year, we'll file the paperwork for that scan. It's called the Vader scan. It sounds pretty cool, but it's called the Vader scan. They come in and they do the scan, and then they initiate the report. So we're definitely going to move in that direction just to make sure they're beefing up our security.
Okay. Good, thank you for that. Well, if nobody else has any questions right now, we could open up the public portion.
Well, I would just say, thank you for this very thorough presentation today. And when I came into this position, I actually started having some conversations with Keith. You all take so much pride in this, and it's really great to see how much effort, just over a year, has been put into that. Seriously, so I commend you all.
Thank you. And I think it says a lot that most of our water district staff are Hampton Bays residents who consume the water every day.
We pay taxes and pay the rates as well, so we
We
understand.
have kids in the district, you know what I mean? So
Drink the water.
we want the best for the water, you know?
Good point.
That's why it's very important to protect the aquifer.
100%.
Against such things.
All right, well, is there anybody, I don't think we did cards today, but if there's anybody in the audience who would like to come up to the podium, go ahead.
Peter, can you just grab the mic that can go on that?
No, it's
Just
just
leave it
for
on
you.
the-
It's just so that they can hear you on
Yeah.
the cameras.
Right there.
So Jason Eiderman used to always tell me I should make my criticisms and compliment sandwiches. I guess this is school day, so I'll compliment you guys for all that you do. And I'll compliment the town board for trying this, but this is ridiculous in my opinion, you guys trying to come out here and do this. Town board meetings, my opinion, should be a town board, and they should be remote and hybrid and keep it the way it is. We had asked for a meeting, and maybe it should include the fire department because they have the fire department Superfund site, a coordination between our water commissioners and our fire department. Some of these people are obviously part of the fire department, and H2O, or is that correct? H2M. I think is Zeb Youngman now working for you guys also? But that being said, so a nighttime forum, whether or not it is subject to the hybrid meetings. It's a water commissioners meeting. I don't know if that's subject to the hybrid. It is. Well, I'm sure that you could change, just like you were trying to change the legislation to not have it hybrid at all. I'm sure, I would assume, you could, incorporate some legislation where you could have, it doesn't have to be a commissioners meeting, just a forum, just an informal meeting. Just like you want to have informal meetings about this or that, or Rick comes to the civic meeting and he explains what's going on. That's what we were looking for, interactive. So some of my comments is Quail Run. Well, that's a new site. How informed are our Quail Run residents right now? They're getting beat up by Westwoods. So are Quail Run residents been fully informed that you are digging a new well and a test well in their front yards? I don't know. A couple of people I spoke to had no idea. A lot of things that get approved for our water district is approved at our town board meetings. You've conflated the roles that I don't know who's doing what and whose responsibility is what. So this is not a reflection on any of our qualified water district employees because they do a fabulous job. It's a reflection on our commissioners and the roles that our commissioners are supposed to play, being accountable to the people in Hampton Bays. So we have new wells, we have contaminated wells, we have a Superfund site at the fire district. We had the DEC, at the urging of the Civic Association, come to the library and present their plan because they were putting in a remediation plan. And the town board, nobody was there because you had a conflicting meeting. Well, I contacted you all and asked you all to try to get the DEC to have a different day so we could have representation from the town board and understand how that Superfund site is affecting our water district. A combined meeting so we could ask the questions. As far as
My understanding is about the Superfund site is that we did what we needed to do to comply with the DEC regs, and that now it's just a matter of the fire department doing some removal of surface soil. Is that an accurate summary?
Yeah, I don't want to
say?
speak for the fire. It's actually the fire district. It's not the fire department and district, two different things. The district handles the financial ends and is actually responsible for this. But yeah, what I'm some information I have is that they are in the soil remediation.
I agree. And
No.
Yeah, it's just soil remediation, and that's in progress, and then that'll be.
I understand Supervisor Moore, but while we were at that meeting, they made comments about the lack of cooperation from the town board, just so you know. And you weren't there to defend yourself. So what I'm saying is that when everybody's in the room, nobody could be pointing fingers to somebody that's not in the room or speak on behalf of somebody else. So it would have been nice. That didn't happen. You know, that didn't happen to have a joint meeting. So we were hoping that now we could have a meeting. Quail Run is an issue. We have Westwoods. As you know, the reason one of the main reasons the Supreme Court reversed annulled the HBDOD is because of the water district. That was one of the deciding factors in the Superfund site, is because the town board failed to fully address not only the Superfund site, but the 10-year master plan when they reviewed the HBDOD. It was one of the deciding factors. So now we have all this development going on in town of Southampton, looking to build another well. And we're gonna end up, I have to tell you, if we have overdevelopment in town of Southampton, I could tell you we're gonna end up in the Supreme Court again. So all I'm saying is that what we were asking for was a more, interactive, informal meeting. And if our residents don't show up, well, shame on them. Then there's nothing you could do. But this
All right,
at 10
well,
o'clock.
what we heard was, can you have a water district meeting in Hampton Bays?
Can you have your next water district meeting of the water commissioners in Hampton Bays?
That's what we were asked to do.
That's what
and
we were
said,
asked to do
okay,
several
so we'll
times.
set up the Zoom and we'll.
And I
we'll do
believe
it.
Councilman Pell mentioned at several meetings that we are planning on doing this.
Yeah.
And we said it wasn't, we said it needed to be a night meeting with the community. Maybe there's some misunderstanding.
The civic can always email any of the members of the water district, the town board, and I believe we're more than willing to come and attend a civic meeting.
The civic meeting is not our meeting. The town board, this commissioner, separate from the town board, the commissioners, it's been, since 2019, we had a meeting and none of you were on the board. This is the problem. And maybe Rick got
Interrupt you for a
on the board
second?
again. 2019, we had a big forum at the high school.
Interrupt you. What do you want us to do? You want us to have a meeting there? We can arrange it, okay? That's what, we're here to make you happy. We thought we were making you happy by coming here. If you want to meet in your bedroom, in your living room, we can do it, okay? I know. We want to make you happy. We want to make the people in Hampton Bays happy. We can arrange it, okay? What do you want?
So in all fairness to Gail, so in 2018, I believe we did have one at the high school.
And then you had one at the
2020, I think we had one at the senior center where they presented the 10-year plan. It went very well. It was well attended. People asked a lot of questions.
And nothing's done.
So you're looking for something similar to that.
That's what we were looking for. There was misunderstanding of what we were looking for. And I apologize. And I know that a little complicated with COVID and hybrid and blah, blah, blah. I understand all that, and that's why I said it's a compliment sandwich. This was a great effort. This was not what we meant.
If we do that, only two of us can participate in that meeting. Because otherwise, we have to have it here with everything you see to be live streamed on Zoom.
Well, I hear different things because I've heard you all say that all five of you could be in the meeting as long as you're not presenting.
We can be at a civic meeting as long as we are not
Making policy.
speaking and coming to conclusions on things as a
Lawmaking.
board.
We can't lawmake.
We can't participate.
But
But we can't participate.
Well,
It then becomes a commissioners meeting and it has to be on Zoom and it has to be in this type of a form.
I don't. Okay, I understand what you're saying. I do understand the open meeting law. I'm not talking about, I don't understand the open meeting law, because I do. What I don't understand is, in the past, we have had, as Rick said, in 2020, before they adopted the meeting, we had the water district. At that time, I think it was my neighbor, whose name escapes me right now, on Westerly Road. He was Rich, he was the commissioner. He had taken over from Robbie. It was Robbie the last time, with Jay. I don't remember if it was all the board members. I don't remember, honestly. And then it was Rich, and I don't remember even the board members that were there, to be honest. Rick, I don't remember either.
Gail, to that point, that was before we had these hybrid meetings. And if you remember, all through my first time on the board, when Jay was the supervisor, he always said to you, We have Zoom, we're not going anywhere anymore because everybody can come to us.
And that's fine. Wait, so if you want, that's fine. I don't think you should be doing this roadshow. My thing is we wanted a meeting with about the water district and all the issues with the water district at night, just about the water district.
But it would be at town hall.
Okay, it has to be.
Okay.
I'm not saying the water commission. It could be a forum. There are only 2 members, pick 2 members. Rick and you, I don't care. But the issue is and then maybe people won't show up. And then that's on them.
I mean, Rick and I are the liaisons to the water district. I'm happy to set that up with him and James, and we'll set something up maybe at the high school.
Because I think the quail, the quail run thing. I mean, I feel bad for those people. So now I guess that's where you decided to dig a well. I have more questions about the 10-year plan. I have more questions about Wellfield 1, which is the 3 plants, which is Pond Park.
There's wells in neighborhoods all throughout Hampton.
This is a new one in this quail run.
Okay.
Right? So it's a new one in this quail run. I move into a neighborhood with a water tower. It's on me. You're putting in.
Having discussions about Quail Run, in fairness, before Westwoods was even on the table.
Yeah,
so.
James, this was because of West.
No, but I'm not saying it's because of Westwoods. I'm saying those Quail Run residents are getting the crap beat out of them by the Westwoods construction, and now you're talking about digging a well down their road.
Doing a test well, which may not result in anything.
Okay, but are they informed? Are they informed that, I caught it on the town board, again, because some of the things about the water district are on the town board agenda. I troll, I admit it. I look at the agendas every 2 weeks. If I come across something, I send it to people. When I saw the Quail Run well, I sent it to Carol. And she was like, oh, okay, yeah, oh my God. But I'm not the interface with the town board and the water district. And again, this is like a compliment sandwich. Thank you for trying this. Thank you for doing this. Thank you guys, 100,000%. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, I just feel like it's been, as Rick said, 2020 before they adopted the plan. It's 5 years now. We had COVID, interactive, informal, not an official commissioners meeting, where people could ask questions. That's kind of what we were hoping for. And I feel
I'm happy to work with Rick to set that up.
So hopefully we can,
And the reason for the commingling on things on the town board agenda, it's because the water district operates under the good faith and credit of the town. And that's why we have to go through the contracting process through the town, and it's, best practices. So it's just something legally we have to do. I don't know that we could have all the water district's resolutions on the water commissioner meeting,
No.
right? You can?
It's time sensitive.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And then we only
I'm not
meet-
trying to change what works. I mean, I'm all about something's not broken, don't fix it. But it is a little confusing. It is confusing. You're not elected, and some of you are not Hampton-based. Most of you are not Hampton-based residents. So it is a little confusing, and this is no reflection on the employees. But it just would be good with all new board members, all new commissioners, if there was some interaction where people, more of an informal meeting.
Just like a fact-finding meeting.
We'll set
Just
that
like
up.
a fact-finding.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail.
So James, if you could answer the questions that Gail brought up as far as the impact to the neighborhood. I mean, the property is set back at the very end of the road on the cul-de-sac.
So we have all intentions to inform the Quail Run residents of what's going on. We started this planning back in, I believe it was like 21, where we have to find a piece of property within Hampton Bays, and being how congested Hampton Bays is, the development that's going on within Hampton Bays, a lot of these properties are getting eaten up and taken away from us. So I was able to find a piece of property on GIS that the town does own, and it's all the way down at the dead end of Quail Run, and it's going to be offset, at least 50 yards into the woods where you're not even going to be able to see it. So it's not going to be essentially in somebody's front yard.
And there's not a tower per se,
Yeah,
correct?
there's no tower. It's a small little well house. If you've seen some of our well houses, they're very, 10 to 12 feet tall, nothing that's.
And that's if the testing turns out.
Right, of course. So
They're very
back to my
preliminary.
point was we started this process where we needed to find a piece of property. So we started to look into this piece of property. We didn't know for sure that until maybe last month that we were able to even access the property to do it. We had to go through the town attorney's office to be able to work within the easement, because the water main does run through the woods there, that goes to two sides of the district, and there's the easement, so we wanted to make sure the work we performed in the easement, we didn't have to do any land clearing, which we don't have to. We're able to access the property, very minimal land clearing of dead trees that are already there, so we can gain a well truck to go in the back, drill a well, they're gonna pull the well out, and it's gonna look like we weren't even there. And then, and once we get the reports back, if the water is viable and you're able to put a well there, that's when we'll notify the public.
And I appreciate you telling me, but like, this is where the Claremont people need to like, hear or something, you know what I mean? Like, except for me, I follow what everything you guys do, I read everything. There's a lot of people that don't.
Sure.
So I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm asking them from you, I'm asking from, our commissioners. You know, I appreciate all of you.
And I'm happy, Gail, I'm happy to reach out to the whole neighborhood group that I'm in constant contact with on other topics there anyway, and let them know what's going on and what they can expect in the timeline. I'll do that.
But when will you get the results of the testing?
We still have to bid the project. We still a long, pretty good ways out before we're even going to access the property. And so,
What do you figure? 5, 6 months, 4 months?
I don't think we'll be accessing the property till fall.
The fall, next fall.
Yeah.
And then if the testing
this
doesn't
fall.
work out, you won't be moving forward.
right, then we'll
anyway.
start this process all over again, looking for property and so forth.
We'll
But
go
if
back to the town board and ask for more property.
Yeah, but if it does work out, then you go to the
So if it
neighborhood,
does-
separate from what you're gonna do.
If it does work out, there's a process. Now, it's town land, so if we determine that we want to build a well there, we have to do what's called a meets and bounds. We have to set aside a set of, we're looking for probably 3 to 4 acres. We will have to alienate that with the state, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we have to go through alienation of the town-owned land. So the alienation, I think they do that once a year upstate. So that's a 8, 9, 10-month process. And then once that's all said and done, you can go build a well. You have to
And
get,
then that's where notice goes to all the surrounding property owners when that process.
before we build a well, we would let them know, but we probably, alienation has to go through, DEC has to give their approval, and we have to find out that we have good water.
Mhm.
And then, so you're looking, once we find out we have good water, you're a minimum of a year, if not 2.
This hasn't been the only location you've looked at least 5 other locations I can think
we're
of.
looking at that one north of the highway by the opposite the graveyard there, cemetery. And there's a couple other smaller pieces. This one's just good because it's away from everything.
Mhm.
And once you
We
start,
looked at Plant 2, that didn't work. We looked at Plant 4, but do we want to drill another well into the iron and then have to build out our iron system?
the problem with that, there's so much water on that side of town. We need something further east.
We looked over on the other side of the canal, we just couldn't find a spot. We couldn't find something that worked for our needs.
Okay, so down the road, if this works out as a location, how does that impact like the road? Are we putting new mains in? Nothing like that?
Mains are ready through the easement. That's why it works out perfect. We basically drill the well,
Just
and
tap
put
into
right
it.
into it.
There'll be a small well house with a fence and a road.
If we get to that point, we'll look to see whether we need a public referendum on the alienation issue. We'll look at that when we get to that.
Those are the steps.
And we'll have to do secret too.
How much property do you say you need for a well?
We would like 4.
4.
Yeah, there's 33, I believe, within that town-owned piece there.
There was an open space set aside for
Yeah.
this subdivision. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
I'm gonna run into my lunch if
all right. Get up there then.
Can somebody give him?
That'll be a big problem.
All right, thank you. First of all, I think I can, I want to thank Supervisor Moore and the Council Clement, because I did want this. I thought that we should have the commissioners meet at least once a year, maybe twice a year if it would, here. Of course, I wanted it was a miscommunications. I thought it would be better if we had it at night in the big room. We'd have, I think it would be more people attending it. And so if there's a miscommunications, I guess I'm responsible for some extent. So I apologize, but you guys did what I wanted, so I'm guilty, okay? Second, I want to thank the Water District for being here. I always supported them. I didn't want it to go to Suffolk County Water. I thought it was needed for our community. I see a lot of these guys when I'm walking my dog. Some are volunteer firemen, and I wanted them. My whole thing at the Civic is a sense of community, and these guys live in the community, and I wanted. They do a good job, and so I'm very happy with that. I don't have a problem with that. Okay. I do want to ask some questions. All right. Do you guys keep a water pressure log, daily log, of what the water pressure is in the system, hourly or?
Yeah, there's the SCADA system is recorded.
Okay. Now, I have a water pressure gauge, so I am not going to say mine's unofficial, but, and you know, there's a basic, New York State Sanitary Code, and even Suffolk County, there's a basic, it's got to be 35 pounds per square inch, can't go down below 20. And this is a critical thing because this past August, the water pressure was really abysmal. And it's because it was very dry, and it's a peak season, and everybody's watering and watering. And the problem is, why this is critical is if there's a fire, these modern pumpers, they're capable, if it's below 20 pounds per square inch, I think it's, I don't know what the figure exactly is, so I don't want to misstate it, they can draw a vacuum. And that's a very, in other words, they're not going to get any water out of the system. So if we have a fire like we just had recently, where there's a firestorm, you need large caliber streams to put up fire curtains. They use copious amounts of water. So I'm always concerned about the water pressure thing and situation. And I think last August, mine's unofficial, but often we were down like 18 pounds per square inch, 15 pounds per square inch, because I'm at a dead end though, so I'm not gonna say that's what it was. So that's a very concerning situation to me, and especially like on Sunday mornings, which I do have some experience with this. It's a very prone time for fires. People come home from Saturday night, they're intoxicated, and that's when you need a good hydrant. And it's a situation which I was aware of this past August. It was a very dry period, so I think that needs your attention. I think there's a problem with the system if it can't maintain at least 20 pounds per square inch throughout system-wide during those periods. Okay, so I want to bring that to your attention.
So James, let me ask you a question. With the new meters, do you have shut-off capabilities?
No.
In an area that was a fire?
So what he's explaining is that the dead end areas, which is only fed, a lot of these dead ends when they were built back then were built with small 4-inch water mains because they're transient homes. They're, a lot of homes were, summertime couple, and a lot of the meters that were put in were undersized, 5/8 by 3/4 meters. And if it's a 3/4 inch line, you only have a half inch interior diameter of water feeding your house. So yeah, you're going to see a pressure drop or a volume drop with that undersized service line that's feeding your house. We do recommend anybody who has a small line to upgrade it to a larger diameter because the water mains on the main road are able to maintain that 20 or above that PSI limit or that volume.
That's a emergency situation. You're supposed to have 35 pounds regular in your system, but you don't. You don't.
On the dead end roads, no.
No, not the dead runs. Well, I have to go over and come to your office and look at your statistics, but I don't think you have 35 pounds in the regular, throughout the system regularly, especially at those times in August. I have an inch going into my house. My house is relatively new, and it's like you get up like 6:30 on a Sunday morning, and it's like a pee drop, peeing coming out. Come on. It's I don't know what it is on the road. I'm going to grant you that. I could be, that would really be the test it on a hydrant. But it is a problem, and it's a serious problem. So I think it needs our attention, whatever has to be done to make sure we maintain that pressure, at least at 20 pounds per square inch. Because God forbid we ever have a firestorm like we had, still the main extinguishment agent for fires like that is copious amounts of water, which we have to supply.
What do you think the issue is?
Well, like I said, in his house on a dead end. But we do have pressure monitors. You can come to my office. You can see.
Yeah, all right. So
we have one that's actually on Dune Road as well that calls us out if it ever drops below 20 psi. We have one that's in Plant 2, our pressure monitor, and one all the way on the west end of town. What's that? Plant 5 is pressure monitor. We've never seen those numbers drop below.
Has the fire department ever had an issue?
The only time we ever had an issue where we used to have an issue was the east side of town. Obviously, running that redundant main brings more volume. We're not really concerned about the pressure that's coming at it. We want the
But
volume.
now we did the subaqueous crossing,
Yeah.
and that's not an
The
issue.
fire department is looking for volume. The volume of water is what we're looking for. The trucks create the pressure. So if you have 40 psi, 30 psi coming out of hydrant, it all depends on the GPM behind it. So you can have 1,000 gallons a minute at 60 psi, or you can have 1,000 gallons a minute at 20 psi.
This is a difficult. The pressure coming out there, add to it. And
It's the volume of water.
modern pumpers do put the volume into it.
Yeah.
But you do need that initial pressure because you run the danger of that going into a vacuum situation where you're not going to get anything out of the hydrant. But anyway, I want to move on. What location has the iron problem? Is that okay?
It was Plant 4.
Plant 4. Where's Plant 4 located?
Bells Pond Road. Right across from the park. Bells Pond Road.
Okay, okay. Because the transfer station, they do composting there, and it's over 10,000 cubic square meters a year now, and cubic yards now. I'm sorry, and it's never been registered. It's registered, but it's never got a permit from the DEC. And originally, we had the engineer here. I've got a name. This is 5 years ago that they were going to stop that. They were going to clear it, put cement platform, then cover it, so that when it rained, it has to be wet anyway. They would have to wet it for it to decompose, so that the decomposing leaves would not, when it rains, would run off into the ground and it contaminate the groundwater with this additional iron. It's the same thing. One of the issues that you had with the sand mines, that they wanted to close them because they were putting leaves in there and everything. With the same issues over here run by the town. That was never done. I haven't never heard anything. Pardon me.
Councilman Pell and I actually just did a resolution to put in test wells at the transfer
Yeah,
station.
it's a situation that's gone on for years and it's never been taken care of. I know it's another problem, Supervisor, but it's.
I'm sorry, I wasn't reacting.
I'm really grateful that you all came. Because the previous boards, some of the individuals got physically ill when they came to Hampton Bays or had to be near Hampton Bays residents. So apparently all you guys don't have that problem. So I greatly appreciate that.
I thought something had been done. That's what I was looking at, Michael, because with underneath the accumulation, I thought that they had done something, but we can check it out.
We can look into it.
I see these guys out working. Matter of fact, today they were leaving the meters and everything, and I'm happy to see them, and I know. So I don't want my comments to be misconstrued.
Actually, I was talking to town engineer Tom about something like that, making the compost more, healthy for the environment.
I just thought we did
The problem is that as it's decomposing and it rains, it gets washed into the ground. The decomposing leaves have a high iron content, and that could be a source of why they're having such problems in that area with the contamination iron infestation. The other problem, one more question before I forget, is that last time I heard, like some of the wells have sodium infusion. Is that a problem, or is that what wells are the problem with the sodium infusion?
It's a problem for the future. Right now, we're all of the chlorides and sodium, what we look for. Right now, every single well is maintaining adequate limits. It's just that as we pump more out of the ground.
Do you feel that's causing it over pumping that we're drawing so much? Because it's got.
It could be, yeah. That's
you got
why
salt water, but that right is salt water. So
yeah.
You have that infusion drawing it out here. It comes in that way.
It could, and that's why they at Plant 1, which would be more susceptible, they turned it off come October and they rest over the winter. And but again,
Is Plant 1 they want the PFOA?
Yeah.
Is that filter? Is that winterized for the winter?
It was winterized for the winter, and now it's up and running and ready for summer.
But during the winter, shut it down because it's not winterized. I mean, you can't.
It's winterized, yeah.
It is winterized.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's drained and blown out.
No. I mean winterized that it could operate during the winter.
No.
Okay.
Once it's winterized, but we don't need it.
I'm sorry, I misstated that, but it cannot be used in the winter because you don't have it enclosed in a heated area.
Well, and plus, like what John's point about
you want to rest it.
Yeah, we want to rest it. Yeah, we don't want to pump the PFOA through it to get rid of the carbon sooner than later. So
we want to keep the life of the carbon as long as we can.
Okay, and we asked about the sodium, and I think it's good that we have a the commission meeting at least once or twice a year here. Of course, I don't want it in this room. I don't like this room. It's not appropriate for having meetings. It's like I said, there should be panic bars on these doors. That opens into an office. This opens into a hallway. I told the fire marshals this room is not constructed properly, but we want to have it in the big room in the evening, and I love to see you guys all the time. You know how I feel about you as well, right? So, thank you very much. I want to thank the fire, the water district people and everything. Keep that water coming. We don't live long without it and everything. And that's it. Okay.
Thanks, Frank.
Anybody else have any comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
Is the iron in the ground, what's being pumped out, is that iron in the ground or?
Yeah, naturally occurring.
Naturally occurring, it's not from the
It's
any
naturally
byproduct.
occurring. We noticed it when they drilled that well at Plant 4, it was high iron.
Yeah.
Now, one of the tests we do.
It's not caused by leaves or decomposing.
Leaves, and I've heard manganese on stuff like that. But one of the tests we do when we do the design that is TOC, or organic carbon. So that measures the amount of organic carbon in the water, and ours is non-detect. If we were having a tremendous impact from like a leaf pile or something, you would see a high TOC.
But you don't see that.
We don't see it now.
So when I had the fight on June Road, our well was like, the water would be brown sometimes.
That's iron.
So it's heavy duty iron down there. There's no oak trees down there.
I mean, iron's naturally occurring. Iron happens from a lot of different things, and I forgot, I didn't catch his name, but he's not wrong. I mean, you can see, iron, and we have heard manganese.
We have to look out because we have to protect our drinking water.
Well, if you want to get a permit from the DEC for that, that's required now, because it's over 10,000 cubic yards. And, all the stuff goes there, the town runs it. And this is going on. I'm happy to hear that you're at least going to have test wells there. That's where we start with test wells. It's a good start.
Thank you.
All right, well, is there anyone on Zoom that wants to speak today? No. Nobody. All right, well, if no one else has any other questions or comments, then I move to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.